Okay, this next game I am very excited to share with you. In fact, Jonathan, you had said it to me earlier. This was arguably one of your favorite or most favorite games from this tournament. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Even though I lost this game, this was, at the time of playing it, this was probably the most fun game that I played during the tournament.
It just goes to show win, lose, or draw. If it's a good game of checkers, regardless, you can still find great beauty in it. And this game that Jonathan played, as he had the red pieces against the Joe Moore, who finished third place, absolutely played phenomenal checkers and earned a grandmaster norm. And as Jonathan had said earlier too, he played like a grandmaster. This game is full of great instruction. So without further ado, Jonathan, let's get underway with this game.
Okay, so this opening was 10-15, 24-19, and then capture, and then Joe captured back 28-19. And so I did the published play 6-10, 22-17, 9-14, 25-22, and up until this point, everything is published play. And at this point, I thought I was going to a line of published play that I remembered that was slightly off, but my order of moves was wrong, because in order to play the line that I wanted to, I need to play 11-15 first. But I played this 5-9 immediately, and Joe plays the correct 17-13, and immediately in this position, I realized that I've messed up about 5 moves into the game, and I'm probably in a losing position right off the bat. And so I took a little bit of time here analyzing the position, and the only move that I saw on the board that didn't look like it lost almost immediately was to play this 1-6.
And this is absolutely a fascinating position, and one that we've been talking about, the two of us here, quite a bit. And this move, what it does, it creates an elbow, but the instinct for a white to play, my immediate instinct, and I know several other players as well, is to continue to cramp the double corner and continue to put pressure on this elbow with this 22-17. But this move will, in fact, draw, and to Joe's credit, he did not play this move no matter how tempting it may be. And from your opinion, this was one of the more feared moves on the board.
Yeah, I figured that would be the move that he would play. And I couldn't see the loss all the way through, but it looks very powerful for white. I mean, just having this elbow, it looks like there's no way that red can defend this elbow just from an eagle's eye view. It just looks very, very weak. And so, yes, I did fear that. And actually, I hoped that he took a little bit of time looking at this. He didn't move it immediately. And as he was taking time, I was hoping that he would play something other than the 22-17.
Which is, in fact, what he did. Now, what's interesting is the programs, which, again, humans don't play like programs. The best rated move on this board is one of the most unnatural moves on the board, and that's this 32-28. I don't know any human that would probably play this move.
Yeah, and I really didn't consider that as an option. And I mean, obviously the computer did, and the computer finds the best move. But the move that Joe played is a winning move. And like you said, to his credit, he didn't immediately go there. He looked, and he played 22-18, which keeps the win in hand.
And some of you may look at this position and say, well, of course, it's toward the center of the board, out of the single corner. It's a strong move. You keep your pyramid intact here. But at least from my perspective, it alleviates some pressure on the elbow. But as you said, this is, in fact, the winning move, and 22-17 will draw. And really quickly, to go to this move, and I'm sure some of you are saying, well, where is the draw here? Well, the draw here involves something like this. I don't want to get too deep into it because there's a lot we can talk about this, and maybe I'll feature this in a future video. But it involves some very, very, very complicated play, very unnatural play. And likely, if Joe Moore had played this, would have gotten into this sort of situation. So, again, this looks so natural, but this is, in fact, the winning move.
Yes. And so I played, really the only option on the board to take the 2 for 2 with 11-15, 18-11, 8-24, and then the capture. And then I played 4-8, 29 to 25, and now I have an opportunity that I felt was the best opportunity for me to leave the elbow with 10-15. And the program likes, even though it looks like it opens the board up, there's two winning moves, there's probably might be even more than two, but two main winning moves, which, one is to take the 3 for 3 to jump in, trade out, and then go, and that does win, and the program likes that better. But Joe played 25 to 22, which still wins. This is still winning position for white.
Yep. And yeah, now there's not a whole lot that red can do. It has to protect this side area of the board. So you're really committed to further the destruction of your double corner. There's really not much of a choice here.
Yes. Yeah. My moves are pretty much forced from here on out. And so I played 6-10, capture, and then he played 22-17, and then I played this 9-13, and there's really no other moves on the board for white, so white has to play this waiting 32 to 28.
Great move by Joe. Great move.
Yes, and capture, and I spent a lot of time on this position, and what I was considering was going 15 to 18. And I had actually almost decided that I was going to do that. And then before I made the move, I did my look. I mentioned I always try to look for tactical moves right before I make it. And I realized that if I do this, Joe has a winning shot that wins immediately.
And let's show that. So if the 15-18 is indeed played, what is the tactical sequence here? And if you all can see this, much credit to you. This is not the easiest position to see. But if white plays here next, there's an unavoidable situation for red. If it takes the double jump here, white gets the triple jump. If it allows this capture first, white can jump back, red here, and then you again have the double jump and the game is over. So good eye on avoiding this losing sequence here.
Yes, well, I came within a hair's breadth of actually making the move. But fortunately, I looked before I moved. And then after realizing that lost, I decided that this was the only option that I had on the board with 15 to 19 and capture.
And I think what's important to talk about here is now we're in a race, because what's going to happen is red is going to do its best to drive into white's double corner, and white's going to do the same with red's double corner. So white is going to move its pieces in here, and red is going to do its best to get into the double corner, and that's exactly what happens here next.
Okay. And yes, he plays 17 to 13, and I'm going to try to build a column up. So I'm playing 10 to 15, 13-9, 7 to 10, 9 to 6, and now I'm going to trade into the double corners with 19 to 20, 19 to 24, and then capture, and now Joe crowns 6 to 2.
So the strategy has been accomplished. So what started several moves back has now come to fruition. Now, red has to be careful not to overcrowd its pieces in white's double corner.
Yes, but I really don't have much of a choice because I have a king right behind me. So I play 10 to 15, 2 to 6, 15 to 19, 6-10, 14 to 18, 10 to 15, and now 18 to 23.
And this was all forced. The white king was pressing and exerting pressure on red. So it corralled red into the double corner, but pinning its pieces to limit its mobility.
And now Joe moved out with 20 to 16, and I responded with 8 to 12. And then the only error that Joe made in this entire game was 21 to 17, which initially I hoped that he would do. And after looking at it, I felt that my plan would lose. And in talking to Joe after the game, my plan was to do a trade with 24 to 27. And I thought initially that would draw. And after looking at it, and me and Joe both mislooked at it. I felt that this man had to move and that this man would be forced up into this side and the king would be able to hold all three of these pieces. But in fact, that's not the case, and the drawing move was to play the 24 to 27. So, but I declined the draw, and I played 23 to 27 instead. And then Joe played 30 to 26, and then I'm crowning my king 27-32, and Joe plays 15 to 18, and I don't have a lot of options on the board to move. If I move this one out, he's going to get stuck. If I'm moving my king back and forth, I'm just losing time. So I've made the decision to move 24 to 27 and push these into the double corner.
Yeah, into the 28 hole.
Yep. 28, yes, sorry. And then Joe played 18 to 23 and 19 to 24. And then Joe allowed the capture with 17 to 14. And by the way, after I declined the draw, Joe has a winning position on the board this whole time now. And capture and capture.
But there's still a lot of play on the board. There may be a win for white, but there's still a lot of places where it can go wrong, which really demonstrates two things. One, the resilience that Jonathan displayed in this game, but also the brilliance in Joe Moore executing the win.
And to be fair, at this point in the game, I thought I had a technical draw. I had overlooked one move that we'll go over at the end of it, but I felt that I had a technical draw on the board at this point in time. But I am, in fact, in a losing position. But I played 32 to 27, and Joe played 14 to 10, and then I'm going to crown another king 28 to 32. And then Joe plays 10 to 6, and now not having a lot of options on the board, I can't wait for him to crown another man. And so I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to run
with the idea to eventually work your way into the king row here and maybe spreading your king free.
Yes. Either I'm going to go get another king, or he's. The idea is that he's going to have to force to allow me to release the kings there, and so I play 3 to 7, 6 to 2.
Again, exerting direct pressure on the piece on 7.
7 to 10, 2 to 6, 10 to 14, and then Joe stops the man with 26 to 25, and that
to 22.
22.
But now putting direct pressure on this piece, but also freeing your king. So
exactly.
At this point in the game, Jonathan, did you feel like maybe a technical draw was still in hand?
Yes, obviously I wasn't looking as completely as Joe was, but I still thought that I had a technical draw in hand with this king being released. And, I overlooked Joe's next move right here. At this point, I thought I had a technical draw. I was so focused on Joe making one move and that I would have a very nice man-down draw. But Joe ripped my heart out right here.
And I'll tell you what, looking at this position, it's amazing. I recommend really pausing in this position and take a look at all the possibilities here. It just goes to show you the importance of endgame study, because these positions can arise. They're realistic, and understanding and being able to visualize them can maybe help you execute the win in better fashion. What I can tell you is, and we'll discuss what some of the natural moves are, because there are a lot of natural moves that white can play. But let's go over the win first, Jonathan.
Okay, and so Joe played the correct, and he could have either played 16 to 12, but he chose the 16 to 11, which keeps the win on hand. This waiting move is what I did not anticipate. And I realized I was under the mindset that as soon as I got my king's release that I was okay. But that's not in fact true, because this piece is still in jeopardy. And now I don't have, I can go and get this piece and we trade 1 for 1, but then I'm going to lose this piece in the near future because these two are going to be pinned in that double corner and the kings are just going to trap it. And so at this point, I realized, after he made that move, I realized that, yes, in fact, I am in a loss. And Joe executed the win from this point. I did, basically the only thing that I had on the board was to play 32 to 28, and then Joe plays 6 to 10. I pitched the man 14 to 18 and capture, and then I moved the king out 23 to 18. And of course here, Joe cannot move this king. He can't move either kings because I have the triple jump.
Right.
And so he played correctly, 31 to 26. I moved the king back to 32, 28 to 32. And he played his king back 10 to 7, 32 to 27, 26 to 23, 18 to 14, and then he played 23 to 19, which is pretty much forced, but there's nothing for me to do, and I resigned in this position.
So absolutely brilliantly won from Joe Moore. But let's go back into that position, Jonathan, where a number of pitfalls could have taken place if white does not move correctly, or naturally, I should say. So again, it's so easy to want to target this piece. Of course, if the white king attacks it in this direction, Jonathan has the 32 to 28 and then the 2 for 2. So ultimately that is going to draw. This is a little bit more pretty and maybe a little bit more unnatural with the sequence here next. What red does is red makes a pitch here.
Yes, and so then the capture, and it really doesn't matter which way white captures, it plays into the same thing. But if white captures 31 to 24, and then red plays the king up 32 to 27, capture and capture.
Not taking the double. It's tempting to take the double first, but that will actually lose.
Yes. And then white is now forced to move the king either direction, or I'm sorry, the man that's on 24 either direction, and either way the man moves, this king can now go and pick off the man on 22.
Correct. So as tempting as it would have been to just capture that piece right away, you can see the draw. So if white goes here, the king can just move back. This piece is doomed, and no matter what, red is going to capture this piece, and it's going to be a draw. So I think this is absolutely, again, a fantastic game. I'm so glad you shared this with us. And it just goes to show just how critical and delicate some of these endings can be, in which one move is off and the game could be either a loss or a draw.
Yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed playing this game. I told Joe after he won the game, I said, that's just too good. Because I really thought for a long time that I had a technical draw on the board, and then I just missed that waiting move at the end, and Joe played that perfectly.
Great checkers is great checkers. Okay, well, thanks for sharing that, Jonathan.
Thank you.